Chico and the Man will not be presented this evening, and the Rockford Files will be seen 1 hour later than normal, so that we may bring you the following special program.
Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners. This episode of Word Balloon is brought to you by AlexRossArt.com. Alex has a brand new graphic novel coming out from Marvel and Abrams Books, Fantastic Four Full Circle. It comes out September 6th. It's a rainy night in Manhattan, and not a creature is stirring except for the Thing, Ben Grimm. When an intruder suddenly appears inside the Baxter Building, the Fantastic Four find themselves surrounded by a swarm of invading parasites. These carrion creatures, composed of negative energy, come to Earth using a human host as a delivery system. But for what purpose? And who is behind this untimely invasion? The Fantastic Four have no choice but to journey to the Negative Zone, an alien universe comprised entirely of antimatter, risking not just their own lives, but the fate of the cosmos. Fantastic Four Full Circle is the first long-form work written and illustrated by acclaimed artist Alex Ross, who revisits a classic Lee Kirby story from the 60s and introduces the storyline for a new generation of readers. Bold, vivid colors, his trademark visual storytelling, Ross takes Marvel's first team of superheroes to places only he can illustrate. The book also features a special poster jacket with the front flap unfolding to reveal an all-new fully painted origin story of the Fantastic Four. Again, Fantastic Four Full Circle, out September 6th. For more details, go to AlexRossArt.com. Out now from DC Comics, it's Dead Man Tells the Spooky Tales. Franco of Superman Adventures, Aw Yeah Comics, and Tiny Titans fame presents 15 tales narrated by Deadman himself, Boston Brand, that will shock and delight horror fans of all ages. 15 stories created by Franco and 15 amazing artists, presenting bold art and great storytelling. This is a great present for the fall and holiday seasons to young readers or to share with your children at nighttime story time. The book is out now from DC Comics. It's Dead Man Tells the Spooky Tales. Pick up your copy online or your favorite comic store today. Welcome back, everybody. Time again for Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here. Nothing delights me more than when my friends in comics get to work together and make something special. And that's the case today as we say hello to Gene Ha and Kelly Sue DeConnick. Good to see you both. Welcome back.
Hello.
Good to be here.
And man, we're continuing our conversation with Kel and the artists that are putting together the incredible Black Label series, Woman Historia. Now we're talking about Volume 2, and it's the Amazon's Tale in full force. Well done, both of you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gene, I was telling you off the air that you had a tall order following Phil Jimenez's excellent Volume 1, and you nailed it, man. I mean, honestly, it's beautiful. It's amazing. It's complimentary to what Phil did, but of course, we got the Gene Ha style here, so way to go.
Yeah, and I'm going to say Phil had a perfectionism in his work that I've never seen applied to a comic book before, where like he would improve costumes that I thought were just perfect, and then like a month after he'd drawn them, he'd draw them again, but redesigned and better and more detailed, and be like, oh, I will put that into my story. But it is terrifying. The original version was terrifying, and now I have to put this one in and make it look beautiful too. And oh God, it is. He is super inspiring and really insane.
So did he? Kel, like, what is Phil's involvement moving forward? Is he kind of the art director of these volumes?
I think he could be if he wanted to, but he's got such a respect for Gene and Nicola that I think he's really just kind of sends them reference when they need it and cheers them on. I think Phil is smart enough to know that you get good people and you let them do what they do. you
Sure.
know? I mean, I don't know, Gene, if there was more interaction than what I saw.
I mean, in a way, Phil was like the extra assistant editor, where like you would send in, you'd say, I need this art request, I need some type of reference for something or help with understanding something. And Phil would usually be, if I sent it to the whole editorial team and Phil would often be the first one back by, hours, days, whatever. I mean, just he was, and then he'd send you these giant piles of reference and notes explaining why he did things and how he did things and how it's constructed. And it's like, okay, that was exactly the next question I was going to ask. Thank you very much, Phil.
Yeah.
That's excellent. And then again, I mean, the amount of detail, Gene, that you put in, and we'll show some evidence of this in a couple minutes. But really, beyond just the storytelling and stuff, the maps, all the different iconography of, and again, as a Greek guy, I certainly appreciate what you guys both are bringing to the story. I want to put up Dennis's comment. He says he can't stay on, but he just want to say, Kel, how much you love this chapter of Historia, but also congratulations on Awakening. Before we get into Historia, tell me about Awakening.
Phil.
Awakening is the show that I wrote for the Wynn Resort in Las Vegas. And I got to work on that for 2 years with some of the most amazing collaborators. And then over since April of this year with the most incredible dancers. And yeah, I'm really, really proud of it. And we just opened on the 7th. I got a note today from Jim Lee, who went to go see it
Oh, wow.
with his family last night. So yeah, it's really, really cool. I hope that anybody who's in Vegas will consider going to see our show. It's really wonderful. You can Google it and see some clips, and there's also there's some behind the scenes stuff on YouTube that's pretty cool. I can actually paste some links into the chat, but
yeah, I hope you do.
It's I'm very, very proud of it. It's also kind of mythical. I wrote them an original myth. Can you say that? I don't know. Sure you can.
Sure you can.
I did. Look at that. Yeah. So I wrote them a myth, and I have so much love and respect for everyone. Like, oh my God, the crew of people on this thing were just phenomenal. And it was really neat. And I was so busy every time I was there that I did not get a chance to, I was like, oh, I'm going to be so familiar with the Vegas comics community by the time I'm done with this show. I went basically from the airport to the hotel, to the theater, to the hotel, to the airport, and sometimes to the rehearsal space before the theater was done.
Wow.
Yeah, like I never got to see anything. I went across the street to buy some t-shirts at one point. So yeah, I need to.
Where's the Wynn in conjunction to the rest of the casinos? Because covering boxing as I did for so many years, I would go to Mandalay Bay, I'd go to Caesars, I'd go to Paris, wherever.
It's on the Strip. It's right down from the Wynn and the Encore are sort of sandwiched between what's the Venetian one? Is it the Venetian?
It is the Venetian,
yeah.
That's the Venetian.
The Venetian and like Treasure Island on one side, and Resort something on the other side. Resort World. On the other side.
All right.
Clearly, I'm a Vegas expert, you guys. Clearly.
I call you Shecky from now on. Yeah. Shecky. Very good.
But at some point, I'm going to get back. I've heard that they have great shops. I'm probably going back in January to check on the show and bring my mom. So yeah, I need to drop in on the shops. I heard there's really great shops there. And then also like there was a there was a convention that was hosted by like the library
Oh,
the
yeah.
same weekend, the Saturday before our show opened.
Ah,
So it was like, well, I can't do that. But
There you go. Chaos and Comics says that the win is off Spring Mountain.
yeah.
Okay. Good to know.
The Clark County Little Library Comic Convention
Yeah.
is wonderful, and they really
Yes.
take
Oh,
care
wow.
of you. Also, have you seen the HBO show Hacks?
no, but it's
Oh,
that
Kel,
was
you'd love it.
recommended to me so many times.
Kel, it's a great show. Yeah. Go on, Gene.
I'm interpreting everything you're saying as like the happy version of what the stand-up comedian goes through on that show, and it's like, oh man, it just fits so well. Also, from my experience of working with you, a lot of what you do in Script for Me is you give me a challenge and you say, you're more visual than me. I don't know how you're going to interpret this, but here's what you need. Here's what your art needs to accomplish. And I'm trying to imagine you working with choreographers and dancers and doing exactly the same thing, because your challenges were fascinating.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it's very much that. Like, let me not try to do your job. And in this case, we had this incredible director and phenomenal choreographers. So like my job was to tell them, okay, this is the important part of the story. And then to like protect the structure. And then, stay out of the way. And Anthony Hopkins is our narrator. So
Wow.
I got to fly to London and record Anthony Hopkins at Abbey Road.
Wow. Sorry. Boy, that must have sucked.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Holy cow. How was Sir Anthony? My God.
Oh, the kindest man. Okay, we have to talk about Historia, but I'm going to tell you two quick things.
No, this is great.
Okay, so one is, and I can't believe I'm sharing this, but I'm sort of too much information girl, so whatever. But on the way there, so I was riding with our producer, our director, and our director's dad. We were all staying at this crazy fancy hotel they put us up in London. It was beautiful. And we got a car, but the car we were in, I was seated backwards.
Oh, right.
And it was stop and go traffic. And I was like violently ill by the time we got to Abbey Road. And as we're heading to the studio, I'm like, I'm going to vomit. And so like I ran into the bathroom. And I'm wearing white pants. I'm like, yeah. And I hurled just my breakfast. And I'm so mortified by this. I'm not going to tell anyone at Abbey Road. So I'm cleaning everything up myself and like trying to make sure that I don't get anything on my outfit so I don't smell like puke when I meet Sir Tony. And like I have my toothbrush, thank God, in my purse because I didn't stop and drop my purse anywhere because it was like, this is urgent. And like got cleaned up and cleaned the bathroom up and brushed my teeth and then like just came out of the bathroom like, I was just in there for like 20 minutes. Who knows why? Like just touching up my face. Then everything like from that point on, it was so awful. And I thought, well, I bet you I am among like a storied. There are many, many people who have vomited in this very bathroom in Abbey Road, who are amazing, much more accomplished human beings, and probably not carsick. probably totally more interesting idea. But like from that moment on, all of the anxiety I had the week up to this whole thing, everything I'd been stressed out about just like completely went away. And Sir Tony got there just like a couple minutes later. Shut up. And he was incredibly lovely. And my two things are, I made him cry. One with the last monologue that he had to read. He was like stopped because he got teary, and he was like, I'm so sorry. And I was like, putting that on my gravestone. And then the other thing was there's a line in the show that after he read it, he stops and he goes, "Is that Freud?" And my director goes, "No, it's DeConnick."
Atta girl. Victory lap, drop the mic. Absolutely.
Yep. I'm done. Never writing for anybody else. That's it.
Huge. Well done, bud.
Yeah,
That's a great yak story, so that's good,
cool.
man. Absolutely. Lovely. That's fantastic. All right, we've already got comments from people about Historia, and David has a few things to say to both of you. First, David says, Mr. DeConnick, the amount of quotes I keep using from the two chapters is something my girlfriend still hasn't gotten tired of somehow.
Aww.
And Mr. High almost drowned in the ambiance that you and DeConnick created. This strange world belongs to the Amazons. How you make something look so dangerous and mysterious, but also so tactile. Interesting. I like it. And then, that's the question, I guess. Oh, pardon me. He's got two questions. He says, I noticed that Hermes and Neptune didn't join the other male fods in the last panel. Do they have a different opinion concerning Apollo's beautiful boy? That might be a spoiler.
It was not an intentional omission, I don't think. But I will say, and I'm trying to decide how much to
Sure.
How much about the process and how much that could potentially be spoilers.
I'm hip.
But and Jean, you correct me if I'm wrong here.
I don't know volume 3 at all, though, so I should mention so.
Okay, well, I don't think that I gave you any specifics about who needed to be on that page.
You told me who had dialogue. Let me see.
I love this.
And I included the ones with dialogue, so I assumed the rest weren't there at the time, because
it's I mean, only Zeus has dialogue, right? So it's just
stand by.
Apollo. And let me see. Oh, you had mentioned some. You mentioned. I put the people on the page who you mentioned in the script.
Okay.
So, but I didn't throw in extra gods in that scene.
Okay.
Well, I should pull up the script, but as part of the way that I really enjoy working, where it's very much a conversation, I actually had a printout of Jean's page. There we go.
No problem, buddy.
I had a printout of this page that I worked from.
Gino, stand by.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
Choreographing isn't quite the right word, but sort of the attacks in volume 3. I used that page of Jean's as my guidelines.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. David had another question, and this is good. Have we seen Hippolyta's wound yet? It seems as though we have, but I would love confirmation.
Yes.
Very cool.
And that's a reference to something I like to talk about a lot, about that with characters in comics, in particular with superheroes. And Hippolyta's not traditionally a superhero, but these are all larger than life characters. I always find it helpful to identify what their core wound is. I think that makes a good story engine. And so, yeah, for Hippolyta, it's exactly what you think it is. That first, the infanticide in book 1 is
Yes, we discussed this in our first conversation about volume 1. So yeah, and truly, Kel, this hero journey of Hippolyta's and gathering the Amazons now in volume 2, really spectacular stuff. I mean, really, it's thrilling. And I hear what you're saying, that Hippolyta's not a superhero, but she is a heroine or hero. I don't know,
Yeah.
you know. And yeah, this is her journey, and it's really great. And I love, God, I loved Artemis. Gene, I love the way you depicted Artemis as this young god and everything, and that's really interesting, Kel and Gene, because I always, see her as the mature Artemis. So it's interesting to see her as a young god in this story.
Yeah, Phil started off with drawing her very youthful, and I just kind of played off that, but also we had other aspects of her to kind of explore and show off. And frankly, she got to be, because she really loves Hippolyta, she gets to actually kind of confide with her, be friendly with her, tease her a little bit in ways that to a human can be terrifying. But still, she gets to show a more playful, childish side to her that you wouldn't expect from the adult version you see in sculpture and such.
Understood. Really, really cool. Yeah,
I think there's something, first, at some point in this, we have to talk about the secret images that Gene used so beautifully to kind of communicate the presence of the gods. So it's really fun to go through and find Artemis hidden and watching in so many different places. Go ahead.
Which happened because you threw a challenge at me in the script. You said, Artemis, Hippolyta's going through the forest and she knows someone's there, and I need you to draw Artemis as there, but not there. And it's like, how the heck do I do that? And I had to rack my brain, and I began realizing, I'm going to make an optical illusions in the background of not a figure, but of things in the background put together that look like a figure. And then I'm going to blend that in with occasionally her being there and then switching it off. But again, it was the weird challenges you throw in the script.
Yeah. I totally get credit for all of that, you guys. This is what happens when you work with people like Gene. You can, like Emma Rios, there was a issue of Pretty Deadly that I was like, the butterfly is happy. And then as soon as I wrote it, I was like, how the hell do you draw a happy butterfly? And then I just told Emma, I was like, I don't know how you draw a happy butterfly. You'll figure it out. Like, I bet you will. And sure as shit, she did. We can curse here.
Absolutely,
right?
You can. Yes.
100%,
buddy.
Yeah, she absolutely drew a happy butterfly, because of course she did. It's amazing.
Well, there's some great shots of Artemis. Oh, you'll forgive me. I've got my Kindle open here on my laptop, and that's why it's giving us all this stuff beyond the panels themselves. But and I always love seeing when the gods are looking at the humans and the other gods and everything, and we're seeing the statues representing what they're doing as real time is happening and stuff. So I love all this.
Do you have the cover? Do you have Gene's cover there?
Oh, I'm happy to. Yeah, I can bring it up. Or Gene, feel free if you got it. Gene, stand by.
Okay, so
look at that.
There you go. Right, so you see the ambiguous image of the face. You see Artemis's face.
Yeah, making it about the size of my face.
I was gonna say, push it forward, Gino,
and then
forward. So we can see. All right, so let's find out.
Okay,
let's find Artemis. It's like a highlight magazine. Where's the pony?
So her jawline is that straight shadow that cuts across the bottom of Hippolyta's dress there.
Okay.
That's the jawline.
Oh, wow.
And the
Yes, now I see it.
Isn't that cool?
That's amazing. That's great, guys. Jesus.
Yeah, and
very
it's
cool.
All through the book. The faces, she's always watching. She's in here all the way through. One of my absolute favorites, too, is this one. This isn't really a hidden image, but it's still, so right here.
Oh, stand by. There we go.
Okay, let's see. There we go. Okay, so she has a stag form. So she's sitting here. You see her body in the rocks?
Yes.
Okay, she's sitting here kind of watching, and then in the next panel, she's gone.
Yep.
Our reader's eyes are pulled over here because of the text boxes. So you have to kind of be checking very carefully to see how she slipped in and out of the scene.
That's great. Well, and truly, in both volumes, and I'm sure Nicola will also do this in volume 3. That's the thing, man. Honestly, Kel and Jean, all of you have achieved this book that it's like, no, you just can't read the 60 pages or whatever. You're going to go back and want to look at the imagery and the detail that all of you have put in this, both in the text, but also these wonderful subtle moments like this. This is great.
Okay, so
stand by.
Yeah, here's another one. Let's see.
Pulling in. There we go.
All right. So you see the face?
Yes.
Right
yeah.
there?
Absolutely.
Okay, so there's Hera, and there's Artemis down there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So
that's so great. Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, it's just brilliant. I love it so much. And then at the back of in the behind the panels segment.
Yes.
Jean walks you through his process.
The process, yes.
On that, which is just super, super fascinating to me, and I can't imagine how informative that would be for an artist.
This was the hope of, to me, as a reader of Black Label, in terms of being able to get this extra stuff in addition to the story. And when they do the absolute edition and stuff, this is going to be amazing. Yeah. So, and all right, a couple things. First of all, let me get to the question. Lewis wanted to know, Historia is so emotional. I teared up reading the stories. My only question is, will there be more after book 3? And we know, as we've been kind of telegraphing, book 3 is going to be Nicola Scott's volume. But yeah, what's the story, Kel?
Well, I pitched it for 9 books. So I don't know. They approved 3, but we're like, we'll see. Let's see how we do with these 3. And they've done very well both in terms of sales and critically. But because I'm slow,
you're busy.
They don't come out real fast. So I don't know. I don't know if that'll be an issue or not, or if with Black Label it's just one of those things that's like, we can take our time with this. It's fine. Now that my show is open, my life will
Amen.
Things be a little bit more normal.
Yeah.
So I hope you hear that, DC editors watching this right now.
Indeed. Come on, I know.
Even when my life is normal, I'm not a fast writer. They all know it. There's no reason for me to lie about it. And that's the thing I have going for me is like, I am slow, but I will not ghost you, and I will not lie. So, it just takes me a while to think this stuff through. I don't get it right the first shot. So I have to work it a little bit. and it just takes me time. I don't know how people do it faster. They do, and they're amazing, and I am super envious, but my brain doesn't work like that.
So. Oh, interesting. Let's see what David asks. Gene, Phil Jimenez chose to share many snippets of his work as he was working on it. Having more privacy in your process, what did it feel like when everything was unveiled at once? Good question.
Oh, given the option, I would have, but way back when I was taught it in Marvel and DC, no, we don't want to have any previews unless we're doing it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they've changed their policy now, because I would totally have shared lots and lots of snippets if I thought it wouldn't have gotten the company angry or gotten an editor into trouble or something. So yeah.
Sure. Who is your editor, guys? And forgive me, I haven't acknowledged that.
Oh, it's Andrea Shea and Chris Conroy.
Yeah, fabulous.
It is a 2-person job. They're both heavily involved and terrific, smart human beings. So I love them to death.
Well, the whole team is showing, again, it's right there in the pages. Gene, could you talk about your process for page structure in this book?
Oh, let me see. Well, just going over some basic things.
You guys are doing all the heavy lifting, showing the visuals, and I appreciate it. No, yeah, honestly, because it's easier for you guys to point out specific pages, and I thank you for that, truly.
Okay. So I would go for slightly crazier, more fun layouts and stuff like that, like the big golden spirals when I was showing a divine realm, and then more rectangular panels when I was showing the more of the earthly realm.
Gotcha.
Let me see. Other than that, my natural storytelling instincts kind of tend towards being cinema verite. I want to make it feel a bit like you just happen to be that you are the the fly on the wall watching and listening as all
Sure.
of these events are happening. So I tend not to go for the formal very graphic designy looking layouts, even if I do put a lot of graphic design into it. But I mean, I'm just going to bring out a layout here.
Look at that.
Yeah, it's designed to work, like this page here is designed to work as a lot of geometry to tell the storytelling on this page.
Sure.
So you have a girl inside the Temple of Apollo, underneath the statue of Apollo, with him literally shooting arrows at her.
Yeah.
Then you go down, and you get the shapes which slowly start forming kind of, because it's Apollo and he's very logical, mathematical. I'm probably covering up the microphone. He's very logical, mathematical.
We can hear you.
Yeah, because he's logical, mathematical.
Yeah.
It's forming eye shapes glaring down at her. But they're also very geometric, inhuman, square diamond shapes. And then the next page, the square diamond shapes get repeated, but now the pupil of the eye, the cornea of the eye, turns into the face of Apollo, glaring like a statue. And when you see him here raging at Zeus like an angry teenager, you'll see his pose is almost exactly the same pose as the one of the statue.
Absolutely. No, that was great scene, Gene. Absolutely. I'm so glad you picked that out because it blew me away. I also loved when Hera was talking about and Kel, I'm going to screw it up, but the woman's destiny, that it's like, no, they're not going to get their due, in a year, 100 years, 1,000 years, and just the imagery just popping out and just getting bigger and bigger as Hera's rage just goes on. Great emotional scene. Please.
All of those vignettes,
yes,
here, there, that's all Gene. That does not appear anywhere in the script. He decided on those and went and pulled those and put them in, and they're perfect, and I love them.
And truly, Gene, this is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Phil, volume 1, boom, knocks it out of the park. And, next batter, Gene Ha. And it's like, boom, another home run, man. I'm not kidding. You guys, seriously, man, you guys are killing it.
I'm going to describe how I understand how a comics team works. So essentially the editors are coaches. they're not supposed to get on the field. They're not supposed to play. If they do start taking credit for stuff like that, like I'm the one who scored the touchdown, they're not doing their job. The rider is the captain. And the rider will tell you something like, I don't know how, but I need you to get 30 yards down the field so I can throw a pass to you. And I know there are 5 MVPs in the other team who want to break your legs. You just need to get past them somehow, get 30 yards down the field, and I will throw a ball to you. And it's like, okay, I can do this. Or they can say, and this is pretty much what the script said. In that scene, Kelly Sue said, I need you to represent 3,000 years of injustice against women, future and past, using Hera, birds, and feathers. And I was like, I pondered for a while, and that's what I finally came up with. Again, she gives you a challenge and says, there are demonic forces trying to destroy you, but if you can get past that and make this happen, that would be really cool. And it's like, okay, I'm a veteran of this industry. I can do that.
Okay,
So, yeah,
I have the script page pulled up. It says, double page spread. We're giving substantial real estate to this image because I hope we can convey a sense of the magnitude of what Hera is saying. The rest of the feathers have become birds and they're all flying away. Hera is melancholy. Her little birds usually give her pleasure, but if each of these birds represents a day, a week, a year, or even 100 years without justice, there's no solace in that. Again, I'm echoing something we did in book 1, the indictment scene with the vases. My hope is that we're doing so in a way that reminds us of the stakes for Hera, but also moves the plot forward. We are to understand that Artemis reveals the Amazons to Hippolyta because Hera allows it. It's also obviously meta commentary to the 2020 reader, not 2000 for that matter, probably not 3. That's it. That's the entire script for those 2 pages. It does not get into any specific imagery at all, save for the birds and feathers.
Yeah.
And just keep it totally relevant to right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could stand for it to be a little less relevant would be nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, heavy stuff, guys, and well executed. All right, these are great. Now we get into the meeting of minds portion of questions from the audience. McCoy says he has a couple questions regarding, or forgive me, McCoy, if this is a woman. But firstly, I noticed that the Herodotus references there, even in the gods' designs. Do you have a favorite Herodotus anecdote? Excuse me.
I mean, no, I don't think so. I listened to a lot of Professor Elizabeth Vandiver's lectures, and her lectures on Herodotus are really, really terrific. I wish I could pull out something, a clever little anecdote, but I don't really have one. I mean, I think that the things that were my big takeaways from that were just, this is the earliest history we have. And literally from page 1, women are being treated like crap. And that was just really like from the beginning of time, yeah. And that was big. And then the Daughters of Lydia bit was another like clever. Let me just give myself a little, I felt very clever. But it was a way for me to kind of tie it in to, I think that's in book 1, actually, when they're talking about, but the the histories are, yes, there's crimes against women, but there's also and I think there's an Aphrodite thing that's about the daughters of Lydia, a little
Okay.
exchange in there.
McCoy also wanted to know.
Let me throw one in. Sorry.
Yeah,
okay,
please.
so I do have a specific Herodotus thing that I kind of
Please.
sort of threw in. The Plague of Athens. So we often think of, we know that the Romans and the Etruscans were some of the earliest people with relatively modern, clean sewage systems to kind of flush the cities clean instead of letting it run through the streets.
Right.
Which means, the Greeks did not. The Greeks had let all the crap run down the middle of their streets and gutters. So when I showed the scenes of the Amazons and the proto-Amazons, the almost Amazons all meeting, stuff like that, I try to make it very clean, very ecological looking, and plants and beauty and stuff like that. And then when I finally do a scene in the world of men, I literally try to figure out a way to draw as much urine and poop into the scene as possible, because it was literally just running in the streets back then. It was not Greece, or it was not Rome, and it was not an Etruscan city. Yeah.
Well, thank God that biodegradable stuff is no longer on our, Although as I understand it, Athens could be cleaner, as I've been told by my friends and relatives that have recently visited Athens. So what are you going to do? Where is it? And McCoy also wanted to know. My other question is favorite Hippolytus stories that were most influential on Historia.
I don't know. Well, I mean, in book 3, we have a really good time with Hippolyta and Heracles, which is probably where we know Hippolyta best from actual myth. I think it was. I feel like I'm letting McCoy down, but I think for me, rather than responding to specific Hippolyta stories from DC or even from myth, I was really responding to the idea of I wanted a Homerian epic with a woman at the center.
Certainly.
And so it made sense to me for it to be Hippolyta. So that was really, I was almost more focused on responding to that, the absence of that, than anything else. And that becomes really pointed in book 3, where I mean, I don't know if you've ever read any Homerian epics, but there are not super happy endings for our heroes. They're flawed people, and it's not always so good. So I know my biggest fear, it's not a fear, it's the thing I am dreading, is there's a thing that Hippolyta does in book 3 that is viewed as a betrayal. And I've known it was coming, and I spent both the 2 previous books and the first half of the 3rd book making it make sense, both that she would do this thing and that it would be viewed as a betrayal. And hopefully, from my point of view, you can see both sides of it. You could see why she would make this choice, and you could see why they would be angry at her for it. And a big thing for me was the sort of heavy is the head that wears the crown idea, that no, you you don't get out of this with clean hands. It's just not an option. You have to make a difficult choice. And also, I think we talked about this a little bit when we spoke before, but I think a lot about Martha Nussbaum's take on tragedy. And like when I was a kid, so I was a weird kid, shocking no one. But in fourth grade, I did a sock puppet presentation of the Oresteia to my class.
Of course you did.
Yeah. And I've always loved Greek myth. I've always also loved Greek theater. And, but I had this, okay, I'm going to put it in nerd speak. There was a time when I thought Kirk's Kobayashi Maru scenario was like, ha ha, you know, thinking outside the box. Yeah, you know, there's no way to win, only if you decide there's no way to win, right? And that was really a young person's perspective. And I love, that's not a critique of young people. Young people are the engines of history, of the world, of the culture. And, you know, in order to be the engine, you can't embrace all of the complexities. You kind of have to, young people tend to see things in a more simplified way, not because their minds are not capable of the complexity, but because they need to in order to be the engines, right?
Right. They don't accept the conventions of the moment. If we don't go traditional, what can we do, right? Is this, all right.
Yeah, and just like, he's bad, she's good, we're doing this, you know, like, but, you know, after a certain, so I didn't like tragedy when I was a kid. I just didn't like it. I didn't really relate to it. And I felt like it was like sort of, well, it's just a bummer, you know? But as I've gotten older, I've come to see that no, sometimes there are no-win situations. You know, you cannot be in two places at once. You know, I will not have to decide between, you know, the life of my daughter and my army, but I might have to decide between going off to do a job that I need to do in Las Vegas that I love very much, and being present for my children that I love very much. You know, like it's not, sometimes there are things that don't have a right answer, and you can't have it both ways. And when Kirk reprograms or hacks the scenario so you can win,
yeah,
it's not, he didn't outsmart it, he cheated.
Right.
The question wasn't, can you win? What they were testing was his character in a situation where you couldn't win.
Right.
And what he showed himself to be was immature. You know, he showed himself to be someone who wouldn't have their character tested, who wouldn't examine the idea of an unwinnable situation. And so, boy, am I in the tall grass now. So I'll wrap this up.
No.
But I've come to think who you are in those times is wildly important and interesting. And so putting Hippolyta in this place where she had to make a choice. There were only two options, and they were both awful. Made, like, it's classic tragedy.
Yeah.
And it resonated with me deeply.
Well, and it's Hippolyta's failures that lead to Diana's story.
Yes, and that's kind of a having our cake and eating it too kind of thing, where okay, I get to do this classical Homerian epic and play with tragedy with like some of the greatest artists in the industry, and I at the same time I'm not making it intolerably depressing, in part because we love these women, but also in part because the conceit is that because of the bullets and arrows that they take, Diana gets to be who Diana is, right?
Absolutely. Yes. That was and you'll forgive the comparison, but that's the one thing I liked about the Fox Gotham TV show was this is the era before Batman. This is why the era failed, and we needed Batman at the end, because what was there wasn't going to work against the forces that they were dealing with. Right. And that's the thing. And that's good. I mean, that's simplified tragedy. But yeah, I mean, so no, I get what you're saying. And yeah, it will be interesting, Kel, to see how the audience interprets what you do. So I get that. Here, let's move.
Gene, you had something.
Yeah, excuse me, Gene, please.
Yeah, I'm going to just do a visual answer on what I took from the Legends of the Amazons, which was visual representations of Amazons from ancient Greek times.
Please.
So, two images. One, they used to often got represented carrying shields like this, and double-headed axes like this. And I suddenly realized those both look kind of like a Wonder Woman bodice eagle.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Sure. Yeah. Certainly.
So if you look at young Tarpeia, she's carrying slightly modified versions of these two pieces of equipment by the end of the book. That kind of look like the Wonder Woman shield or eagle.
I hadn't caught that. I love that so much.
That's fantastic, Gene. Well done.
Wait, let me get out a scene of that. The one where she's in the training sequence.
Okay.
Okay, you can get a pretty good view of it there.
Stand by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. Oh, that's so great.
Great stuff, Gina. Fantastic. Oh, here, McCoy says, I'm super excited to watch Hippolyta make this our decision. I'm already growing theories about what that might be. So, my favorite Herodotus anecdote was Queen Tamiris. I'm also super excited to see how the story turns out. Yeah, there you go. Boom.
All right.
So yeah, that's great.
Oh wait, I promised to ask on social media, Kelly Seo on social media, this question. So, is the ending of Volume 3 Zeus showing up on Maury Povich and finding out he's the father?
We've got tape, Zeus. I don't know how to tell. We got the DNA test. Here comes the doctor.
Yeah. No, I was very petulant about this from the very start, and spoilers are be damned. Zeus is not the father.
Yay!
Yes. The Amazons have no fathers. It says it on the first page of book 1.
That's true. Yes, it does. Seriously.
I love you dudes. But you're not, it's not all about you.
Yeah, exactly. No. Good Lord. You don't well, at least you don't have to explain to me and Jane, but absolutely. I'm glad you're putting it out there on. No. It's cool. So
hey, this is my daughter.
Hey,
Tallulah.
Tallulah, how you been, buddy?
Tallulah was the inspiration for Artemis. Yeah.
Oh,
hey, that's awesome! Wow.
So
Jesus, what kind of Chinese are you having, Tallulah?
It's grilled chicken.
Oh, that's cool. That's all right.
Yeah.
Very nice.
We're this is a live thing. We're being broadcast. Hello. So.
You look good, kid.
Can I talk to you afterwards? All right. Love you. Okay, I love you too.
Oh, very nice. I remember when she was toddling around Challengers, cracking us all up. When, it's seriously, man. And Henry's doing good. Henry Leo's doing all right.
Yeah, he's 6 foot tall. 15 years old. 6 foot tall.
So he's taller than both of you, right?
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
It's the mailman's kid. So I don't know how to break it to you, Matt. Much like Zeus. I'm kidding. Terrible. Shame on me. I'm teasing. You know. Maddie's doing good?
Yeah, he is off doing the Godzilla show.
Yeah. I caught your new, seriously, Kel, I didn't remember that Awakenings was the name of your Vegas show. I loved that. I got your latest newsletter, both of you, and I saw the video clip, and it looks incredible. And yeah, and so I'm equally excited for both you and for Matt working on Godzilla.
Yeah, it's been a tough year. This has been we're doing work that we really, really love.
Yeah.
And our kids are doing great. We love our house. Our Turner, who used to work for us, is starting a family. So he's moved on. He's got a new gig and a baby coming in like a couple of weeks. And Denise has stepped in, and she's terrific. And it's all real. We have so much good going on, but this has been also, I'm trying to keep it in perspective, but this has also been one of the most difficult years of our lives, with all of the travel, and my stepmother passed, and then my grandmother passed, and my father is ailing, and my cousin is in the hospital right now, and it's been it's really difficult to. I'm very lucky, in I have a wonderful job. I get to work with the most amazing human beings. I'm surrounded literally by artists, visual artists and dancers and directors, and I'm so blessed, and I don't forget that for a minute. But it's also been just brutal too, in some regards. And Matt's been back and forth to Vegas, and Matt's been gone. Not entirely. He's been back a couple of times, but he's really, and we discussed it. We wanted him to be, he was like, if this is too hard on the family, I'm not doing it. And I was like, no, you have to do this. We'll make it work. So it's not, there's no resentment. It's just been, it's been rough.
I'm sorry, buddy. Yeah.
So,
well, again, I'm glad that you're able to still work and put out the great stuff. And then also, yeah, I hope everything works out family wise. It's life, I always say the EKG really does represent life. It's peaks and valleys, and it's the truth. And yeah, we just got to get through the tough times and do the best we can until we get to the peaks again. So I understand. Myself in Comics wants to know what you can possibly promote as far as any other future work. Obviously, Kel, you got Awakenings out now, and also Historia Volume 3, I know, comes out at the end of December.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully we'll talk with Nicola and you early 2023, depending on your schedules.
Yeah. Let's see if I can. I was working on some lettering for that, so I have some printouts of some of her stuff here.
Oh, great!
See what I can flash quickly in front of the camera so that DC doesn't have time to yell at me. Oh no, not that one. Oh, you know what? I think I know.
You can't? All right, no problem.
Give me 1 second.
Oh, okay, on. It's all good.
Gene, you talk while I pull something up.
I'm just going to say I'm with everybody else here because I saw 10 pages of the first art, and I was just completely blown away by what Nicola was doing.
That's
and
great.
the way she took scenes I'd drawn in settings, and it was just like, oh, I hadn't realized how beautiful that scene or that setting or that character's design was. She makes it sing, and it's like someone else picking up your violin and playing music you didn't know was possible on it.
Oh, that's
She's
a great analogy. I love that.
Yeah, it's a good thing she's nice, because otherwise she is so annoyingly good. I'd be like, Ozzy's coming to take our comics jobs.
I didn't really know Phil until really getting to talk to him the last couple of years. But like truly, like the two of you, Nicola's one of these people that I've known forever, and just every time she does something, I'm blown away. But again, just the level of what you guys are doing, and again, no false praise here. It's a complicated story, and everyone is rising to the occasion, I think, from the writing standpoint and from the art standpoint. So I really am excited to see what Nicola has to do, with Volume 3.
Okay, so here's...
Sorry, stand by. Boom.
Yes.
There we go. There we go.
This is the Rosetta Stone page, is what we call it. This is when we invoke the goddesses.
Yes.
It appears in all 3 volumes.
Yes.
So you can kind of get a very early interpretation of, okay, this is how this artist is going to tell you this story, right? So
yeah,
that was Phil's Rosetta Stone, and then the double page spread of Hera, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so then next is Jean's Rosetta Stone.
Right
at
the beginning of the book.
Of the same goddesses, and you can see them. And then he's done the addition of this frieze down here, which is just incredible. And he repeats it at the end of the book in a really, really gorgeous way too. So there's that. And then the double page spread of Hera here.
Yep.
Okay. And then, now this isn't fair because those are the printed versions.
Certainly.
They're extra beautiful, and you're going to see what was printed much smaller on my inkjet printer. So I know.
Work in progress. It's all right. Work in progress.
My name, but
hey, that's great.
Her Rosetta Stone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then there we go. And then you ready?
Yeah, oh yeah.
You're not ready. Here's her double page spread of Hera.
Wow. Yeah, do you see?
Isn't that cool?
That a girl, Nicola.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's also that's Demeter right there.
Oh wow, sure.
Oh.
Wow.
So
crazy.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
And then one other thing.
Sure.
Before
You're gonna make me cry like an Anthony Hopkins.
I'm sorry. This one is to show you specifically, because this is the area that you created for the Amazons.
Oh wow.
And
it looks so good.
Right?
When she did it.
Look at that tree.
Yeah.
I actually tweeted about that tree yesterday because I was going through it and checking everything out, and I just got like obsessed with the twist in the trunk there.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God.
To convey that texture in the tree, absolutely.
Yeah.
Also, the intimacy of the way all the Amazons are interacting with each other, it just made my heart like explode. It was like watching, I don't know, it's hard to explain. It's just like, oh.
Well, I like Chris's comment here, because truly the way that you've all soaked in the statuary and the frieze and the various iconography of ancient Greece in these volumes is, again, as a countryman, I'm quite impressed. It's very good.
And this, I'm going to point out another thing I really
please. I love it, Kel. Absolutely.
So, you know, in book one, and this one's signed to someone, so ignore my but you know, in book one we started in the script, it talks about why we're starting with tabula rasa.
Yes.
Like, you know, blank slate, big deal, forget everything you already know about the Amazons. For this is different.
Right.
And then for book two, because we've started then writing their history, Jean added an element to the page.
Yes.
And then for book three,
nice.
Oh,
wow!
I didn't see that one before.
Hey, that's great.
So
yeah.
Oh, all right, I can't show anything else. DC's
yes.
gonna come after me, but
Hey,
Gina,
hey, look, there's an email from Clark Cole shaking his fist at me right now. I'm kidding.
There's a Heracles thing, Gene. I'll send you when we're like.
Oh, that's cool. You know, and that's, Kel, that's another thing, honestly. And the stories are different, but Hippolyta's journey, at least, you know, again, and the various adventures evokes that Trials of Hercules kind of vibe and everything. And I love that. Again, I mean, it was so thrilling, as I'm sure everyone who finds something within their cultural background that suddenly other people are talking about. I get that, because that is how I felt in grade school when we would discuss even the basics of mythology. And it's like, wait a minute, those are my people. I know I've told you guys, I know I've told Kel, I don't know if I've told Jean, but my aunt, who was, she made it to 98. This is back when 300 came out. And forgive me, everyone in the Word Balloon audience that has heard this story, but I love telling it. And she was great. I took her to Troy. She loved Troy. And she went with her slightly younger sister. They're both in their 80s. And they're both like loving Brad Pitt as Achilles. And, you know, and especially her younger sister, when you got to see Brad Pitt's ass. She's like, ooh, couldn't have been more excited. So I'm at her house one day, and she's like, I want to see that new movie about the Greeks. And I'm like, which one? You know, with the warriors and everything. I'm like, 300? And she's like, yes. And I'm like, Anita, this is like a hard R movie. She's like, well, I'm no prude. And I said, I understand, but you know, it's kind of a comic book movie. She literally, I mean, it didn't hurt, but she punched me. She like slapped me in the gut, and she went, hey, this is about Sparta. This is about us. And it's true. Our people did live in the Sparta region. And I'm like, we're going to see 300. She loved it. She loved the part where the Persians have Ganesh, the big elephant god. And I'm like, how are you with this? She's like, oh no, we read about that in Sunday school. I know exactly what this stuff is. I'm like, and it's great because her son is this hard-nosed construction guy. And he's like, yeah, I didn't want to see that. It's too violent. I'm like, well, your mom loved it.
Oh, that's so funny.
So anyway.
Yeah, it's my family and The Godfather. We're like.
I understand. Jesus. So yeah, it's cool. It's very, very cool. Here, let's see. Myself in comics. Do the Amazon feel similar to younger versions of the Golden Girls? Come on. Okay.
I love the Golden Girls, so
sure.
I'm all for it. Let's see. Who would be? I'm going to need some time to cast that.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, please. That's all right. I'm planning to use these as an inspiration for a Thermoscarama back tattoo. And boy, I can't wait. That's great, Karen. Very cool.
Wow. I make my plea again for Amazon cosplayers. I still haven't seen any, and that's my dream.
Oh my God, that would be amazing. Kel, I'm assuming this was the link for the Awakenings trailer?
Yeah, it's not the trailer, it's the behind the spectacle thing. But
okay. So yeah, here everybody. And it's in the chat, but I'm putting it on the screen as well. So yeah, and really, and yeah, Kel, you know, I mean, it's obviously different, but you know, like a Cirque du Soleil kind of vibe, right? Or not? Forgive the comparison if I'm wrong.
No. It is spectacle like Cirque is.
Yeah.
But it has more of a narrative, and it's dancers and puppetry, and The chairs, you have individual speakers at your seat, and there's a different soundtrack that runs through these speakers than what runs through the theater. So
Wow.
the sound designer is this guy, Peter Hylinski, and he's got like 13 Emmys or Tonys or something like that. I think he's crazy cool. But he's done all of this. Like if you watch this sitting up, you're gonna miss some things. Like you want to sit back in the chair because there's like little whispers and things that come through the binaurals that are different than the music stuff. And there's lasers and fire and but it's not circus-y. It's not Cirque du Soleil is a circus, and
Sure.
This is a narrative story, but it is a spectacle.
Okay. Neil wanted to know, Gene, were you able to do anything different layout-wise with the slightly different dimensions of a Black Label book? It is a bigger book, obviously.
It's it's essentially there's like limits to how dense you can get with a smaller page, and you could just keep on layering in more and more information in a way that would be impossible to read inside of a normal comic book, and just a slightly smaller page. So when I got to get really, really detailed, and obviously like this page here, just it'd be really hard to represent this on a normal size comics page.
True.
It's just too much information, and even here, it's getting almost too dense for the page. And I'm going to say, I have seen detailed scans of Phil's work, and it reads beautifully as a printed book. But if you really took out like a jeweler's, jeweler's lens, that little microscope thing they have,
A loop.
and
It's called a
Yeah,
loop.
Luke, absolutely, yes.
and went over those pages, there are things in there that are kind of beyond perception. Oh, actually, things that are beyond perception. There's also, I'm just going to mention something that happened is Phil would send me detailed notes on the character designs he did, where sometimes he would mention things that he didn't actually get to draw.
Okay.
So, yeah. Io, I can't remember which tribe she's the queen of, but yeah.
Hestia.
So she's Hestia, right? Because fire, duh. She's wearing a collar with a scene of the confrontation of the gods from Volume 1.
Wow.
Of the gods and goddesses from Volume 1. But he didn't draw it in detail. And then Io appears repeatedly in my book, so I had to figure out the layout for that.
Wow.
And then we put a word balloon right over it.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm going to put my thumb here so I can see it as it gets near to the camera. But here you can actually get... there we go.
Yeah.
That's actually getting kind of to the edge of human perception.
Wow.
You can kind of see a big Zeus with an eagle behind him. And then underneath the eagle's beak is Artemis angrily yelling at Zeus. And then the other gods and goddesses kind of going back from them. So just behind Artemis is Hera and going on from there. And I had to design this out and then draw consistently from panel to panel. And just that kind of design work was insane. It was just insane.
That's awesome, man. So again, this is what I'm saying. This is a book, read it, and then go back and with a loop, see and appreciate this kind of attention to detail. Incredible, man. Absolutely great. Jesus. I'm stunned. There are no words.
Amazing.
There are logical, practical reasons why previous comic book teams did not try stuff like this. And a lot of it has to do with they didn't have someone as brilliant and insane as Phil.
Well, also, you couldn't do this book monthly. I mean, never mind the 64 pages. I mean, even if it was, 16 pages, you couldn't do this book monthly.
Yeah. Gene, I don't know if you were, and Kel, actually, I don't know if you are either, but I know Kel is a big old Hollywood fan, but also old movie fan in general. And I'll admit, again, probably because of my background, as crude as they were, I'm a sucker for those Italian sword and sandal movies from the 50s and 60s. In fact, I like just like the old Universal movies were under the Shock Theater umbrella. These were called the Sons of Hercules because they took basically the Ben-Hur sets and the Cleopatra sets and just cranked out a bunch of, sword and sandal movies in the 50s and 60s and stuff using those same sets and everything. So yeah, I don't know if you watched any of that, or Kel, I don't know if you watched any of that back in the day.
Who's the
Steve Reeves?
No, the stop action.
Oh, Harryhausen. Ray Harryhausen.
Yes.
Oh, sure. Oh my God. Yes. What the hell was it called? Yeah. Clash of the Titans.
Yes.
Oh my God. Well, and also, like, you got all the weird stop action stuff, and there's Olivier, there's the woman that played Livia in I, Claudius, like these incredible casts surrounding these Ray Harryhausen stop action effects and everything. Harry Hamlin as Perseus and everything.
Yeah, and the way that the model that they have with the where the gods toy with the humans as little
clay statues,
just
yeah,
ripped that up, just like, oh, yoink, we'll be doing that.
Kel, I want to say it was the same San Diego that you, me, and Matt really hung out. I believe that's where I saw Bradbury and Harryhausen just walking around Comic-Con, one of the last times that Bradbury was at Comic-Con. But yeah, like they were regular goers.
Wow.
Oh yeah. And I got to shake their hands and tell them how much I love their work, and holy shit. By the way, mentioning Comic-Con, my buddy Matt Klickstein wrote this incredible history of the San Diego show, and it's called See You at San Diego. It is so great, guys. I swear to God.
I saw that. Where did I see that? We might have that. I think Matt might have picked that up.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. It is dictionary sized.
Yeah.
And it is an oral history of everybody that was involved with San Diego. It's got the celebrities, but it's got the original nerd kids that created the show and the various hipsters that were there. Andy Warhol was there. The great Frank Capra was there. I mean, and it really does, I think, show how great the Comic-Con is, and also just the different shades of it beyond the obvious of, we like Star Trek, we like Star Wars, we like comic books, and it's amazing. It's a great book. So I always want to mention how wonderful it is. So
yay,
there you go. Free pub for my buddy Matt's book, out from Fantagraphics. Everybody, see you in San Diego. Oh well, of course it is. So Myself in Comics wants to know, is monthly harder than weekly? Well, weekly obviously is hard too. I don't know what your point is there, Myself, but sure. I guess talking about scheduling a comic or whatever, drawing weekly.
There's a thing where like American comics will sometimes have 4 different titles coming out once a week, ideally, and then every month essentially 4 books tell a longer story. But then there's also the Japanese and the 2000 AD British thing where you just do an anthology book with a bunch of short stories that come out weekly.
Yeah.
But not having worked on that style of stuff, I haven't worked on either one, either the American weekly or the British Japanese weekly style either. So I'm not sure. Not
only that, the comic strips, obviously the traditional, just 4-panel strips and everything. I always feel for my friends that are still doing it, either from a writing standpoint or an art standpoint. So
I couldn't do weekly if my life depended on it. So
understood. Well, guys, honestly, we if you want, we can wrap here. I mean, I think. Oh, I did have a question. Excuse me.
Sure.
I wanted to ask about Hippolyta's, and I forget her name, the lieutenant that she is mostly talking to, the other human that wants to be an Amazon.
Katia.
Or Katia. Yeah, Katia. Yeah. So and Kel, is this a original character? Is this someone from
Katia and her little sister Tarpeia?
Yeah. Tell me about them.
Yeah, they're original characters. And I had something in they're both very important. They both play into the first trilogy finale in a big way.
Okay.
And Jean designed them. And there's something I had in mind. Oh, I can't spoil that.
I totally get it. No.
But yes,
Yeah.
the original characters, Jean designed them. And when I chose, I can't remember what, I got most of the Amazons' names from the back of, hold on one sec.
Sure.
Oh, that's not the book I thought it was. So if the ones that didn't come from previous Wonder Woman runs came from the dictionary of Amazons at the back of Adrienne Mayer's book. And so I would just kind of flip through and read the different names and find something that jumped out at me. So I don't remember what Katya's name means or where she came from off the top of my head, because apparently I just don't retain that stuff anymore, which is a little sad and embarrassing. But hey, here we are. But I do remember that when I saw the name Tarpeia, it reminded me of Tarpe Mills. And so then I was like, well, we have to do that. So Tarpe Mills was one of the first women comic book artists.
Oh,
that was of big renown. So
the things I don't know.
yeah.
she did a book called Miss Fury.
Oh, okay,
that
sure.
I know.
Now we know the character, definitely. My God.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
So, and it's Tarpe with an accent, and if you add an IA on there, then that's Tarpeia from our book. So
that's excellent. That's fantastic.
Just a little nod to comics history.
Very cool. Is Miss Fury in public domain, Kel?
I believe so. I think
I know Dynamite's been playing with them. I know that Nick and Company, Barucci and Company. But yeah, I was just wondering.
Yeah. Yeah, somebody should do. She's got a really interesting biography. So somebody should do like a nonfiction.
The cartoonist.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah, the way I remember the story, it ends rather tragically.
Didn't Trina Robbins do recently a look at a lot of Golden Age female creators? I thought she did.
I missed it. I'll have to look for that.
I could be wrong. I could be misremembering, but
nobody better to do it.
Well, and honestly, it's funny. I just had Drew Friedman on talking about his new portraits of underground comic creators.
Yeah.
And Trina is one of his subjects, and also mentioning See You in San Diego. She was instrumental in one of the contributors to the oral history of making that book. And I'll be talking to Trina hopefully in the weeks or months ahead about that. McCoy has a question regarding back to the Historia. Are there plans to go into the romance between Hippolyta and Philippus? Because I love Philippus's design in Historia and just her character in general.
No, but I agree. She remains an important character throughout the book, and historically very important because in Jean renders, she's the one that breaks the chains of the seventh tribe.
Don't worry about it.
There we go.
Yeah,
what did I do to my camera?
Don't worry about it. You got it, or do you need me to do it?
How do I do this?
Settings
Okay.
at the very bottom under our stuff under the picture.
Oh,
that
there it is.
gearbox. Yeah, there you go. Hon.
Okay.
Don't worry, you'll come back.
Sorry.
Not at all. While you're looking, Neil wanted you to know, Kel, that Winter, Neil Cameron's letting you know that Winter's 17th birthday is Saturday.
Oh, how did we get so old, Neil? How did that happen? So Winter was little when I met her at I think it was Heroes Con. And I had a correspondence with a young woman who was interested in making comics, who had gone off to college, and her name was Autumn. And I was just kind of remarking that was my first show where I wasn't going to see Autumn, because Autumn used to come to the show every year with her dad, and she'd gotten older and moved on with her life. And it's like, oh, this is my first Heroes without Autumn. And then this spunky little creature came up and introduced herself, and her name was Winter. I was like, sometimes the universe is a little on the nose.
That's fantastic. Hey, I'm glad Karen brought this up. I meant to ask you guys as well. She wanted to know, any are we on Mastodon yet? I am not. And and also I'm glad that you're both still on Twitter. I'm not. Listen, I don't want anything. This isn't political at all. I hate what obviously Musk is doing with Twitter. I'm just sad that if it goes, because you can block, you can filter and everything, but also if the guy's going to be a jerk about blue checks and all the other ridiculous stuff that he's suggesting, I guess we're going to need to find a new clubhouse. And we did it before. It happened with MySpace, so it's not the first time. But I don't know. Are you guys on Mastodon?
I am on Mastodon. I find it to not be super user friendly.
That's my fear. Continue.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out. But I'm on. Well, it's in my Twitter bio, I think. So,
okay.
My instance is Mastodon.social, I believe. Mastodon spelled out, which is, I think, the main instance. I don't know.
I think you just do a search for your name. You come up as the Kelly Sue DeConnick. There's not even any other alternatives. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. I've had really lovely, wonderful people who are like, here, I will teach you. Here's all of this really dense information. And I'm just like, I don't wanna. I don't.
God, Kel, good, because honestly, I felt incredibly old and knuckle draggy when it comes to that shit. And it's just like, I don't know, man. That just sounds like a hassle. Can I just lie down instead? I think I'm going to lie down instead. And I mean, obviously, we're all on Instagram. We're all on Facebook, or maybe we're not. I don't know. But it's like, it just bums me out because I appreciate the brevity of Twitter, all the basics of Twitter. That's what I want. Hey, here's a cool article. Read it. Here's the link. Here's a funny image. Here's a stupid thought. That's all. Brevity. Even when they went to 240 characters, I'm like, I was fine with 120. I got my point across. So it kind of sucks that this idiot bought it and is, shitting in the punch bowl, frankly. I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't know what has happened today, but apparently
it's bad.
I don't either.
There's a lot of tweeting right now that, like, by Twitter.
Okay.
Fairly well.
Very briefly on Twitter.
Please.
So Elon Musk sent out a letter to all the staff saying, if you don't respond to this letter saying you're willing to work 24 hours a day for the rest of your life, you're fired. So you have 2 hours to respond, or something like that.
Yeah, I saw that memo. Yes.
Pretty much every employee who doesn't have a visa that requires them to work at Twitter to stay in the United States did not respond. So that's 75% of the employees did not respond. Then after that, 2 hours after that, they were trying to convince employees to respond. And then they sent out a message saying, all of your badges you use to access Twitter buildings, they won't work right now because we don't trust any of you not to sabotage the building, and we're going to try to figure out what we're going to do next. And yeah, they have burnt it down. Oh, also, I'm going to hold up a message about Mastodon, which I thought was really accurate.
Okay.
Hold on.
Every
I'll just read it.
Oh, read it to
Yeah,
us.
read it, Gina.
Okay.
Read it to us.
Every Mastodon explanation is like, it's very simple. Your account is part of a kerflunk, and each kerflunk can talk to each other as part of a bumblert. At the moment, everyone you flurgle can see your bloops, but only people in your kerflunk can quirk your merps. Kind of like email.
Oh,
that.
See,
yes, that is how it's. Yes, that.
Somebody make something else immediately, please.
Yeah.
That's my hope is that all these expatriates of Twitter will just come up with a new platform themselves and go, hey, we're over here. Jump over here, please.
Yeah, have you let's see, two things. One, oh boy, I need my bangs, sorry.
You look great. Shut up.
Like one is I have a newsletter which we almost never send out.
I got
but
yes.
When we do, they're trying to be informative. And then I also have oh, thanks, Karen. I also have a community.com account. Now it's not great, oddly enough, for having for folks interacting with each other.
Right.
But I text when I've got stuff going on, or I've got a book coming out, or I'm doing a signing, or if I just want my bitches get shit done list, like I text out some like positive reinforcement. Please drink your water and take care of yourselves, and I love you, and I hope you're thinking about this thing that I'm thinking about too. Kind of stuff. And anybody can text me there, and that phone number is also in my Twitter bio, which is still up for the moment. So there's that. And then the other thing I was going to say about Twitter is, if you haven't listened to Jill Lepore's Rocket Man podcast series on Elon Musk, it's super fascinating. And she gets into all of the science fiction literature that influenced his thinking, and kind of how he has taken the wrong messages from it.
Wow.
And it is also of particular interest to me in that she also talks about the science fiction that he missed, like Le Guin and Butler and Atwood, and some of the more feminist perspectives. Karen, you are on it. Thank you,
really.
Karen.
Karen, for the audio audience, Karen has been posting both Kelly Sue's and Jean's Mastodon URLs, which is great. So thank you. Absolutely.
I will add that to my bios on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and elsewhere. So
there you
that's
go.
a good idea.
Absolutely, man. And yet, Kel, thank you for the recommendation about Jill Lepore's podcast, because I'm always looking for good, new podcasts and stuff, as you well know. And
it's just an embarrassment of riches. And like the other day, I had an idea for a podcast I wanted to do, and then I was like, yeah, and when would I do that? Exactly when? Between the hours of what and what? I was like, oh, okay, that's not ever going to happen. But I know, bums me out.
Hey, but I'm so like, I've got a couple documentary podcasts that I want to do, and I also have an audio dramatic podcast that I would like to do.
Oh wow!
So
I want to do like a thing where I have conversations with people about, like, and I don't know how I would get people to tell me about these things, but I want to talk about failures and I would call it a failure cake or fail better. And talk about like the things that we took a swing at and missed, and what we learned from that, and why
Sure.
I want to normalize trying and failing.
I hear you, buddy. Yeah.
And I think that could be so interesting. I have a million stories of my own, and I'd like to talk to other people about things in their life that they perceive as failures. And then the cake thing would be, then, we would have a piece of cake at the end to celebrate their failure because they tried, and you get credit for that.
I love it. What are you going to show us, Gene? Stand by.
A logo that says fail, but if you
Ooh.
flip it over, it says, if it works, it says lift.
Nice.
How did you do that?
Because he's a genius.
That's for you.
Kelly's like blown away, everybody. Literally almost blew out of her chair with
It's amazing.
I'll email that to you later, and you can have somebody who actually knows how to use Adobe InDesign or Adobe whatever Illustrator to actually do it up formal. But yeah, it's yours. Also this year I got to attend.
I owe you a limerick still.
What's that?
Yeah,
you do.
It's on my list.
Okay, I did. I did a doodle of Kelly Sue while she was lecturing at the University of Illinois through Zoom or whatever, and then in response I said, in exchange for this me mailing this sketch of you to you, can you mail back a limerick to me? So it'll come, and she's got a handwritten limerick. But also this year I got to attend my first 2 science fiction conventions ever. And at the second one I got to discover somebody who everybody else already knew about, but I didn't even know she existed. But I got to meet her and do panels with her, Tamara Pierce, which is kind of like, holy cow. And she was like so brilliant. And this is the thing. She's a YA fantasy author who like pretty much helped kind of showed what was possible to like making YA literature that had female protagonists who had to deal with, frankly, biology and things like that. And then I first met her at a breakfast she had where she wanted to have kids coming to Worldcon, which isn't a place where people under 50 usually attend much. She invited like 20 teenagers to have breakfast with her, brunch with her, and some science YA affiliated creators. And she was like the most patient, amusing, funny, but patient person I ever met. And she was just so good at talking to the kids. And I like have been listening to her audiobooks now. And it's kind of like, in some ways they feel so simple, but she's doing things where it's like, oh my God, this has emotional punch I did not expect from a YA book like this about a girl who wants to become a knight in a world, in a period in time where women are not expected to be, in a fantasy world where women aren't allowed to become knights.
Yeah.
And just the way she did it is like, oh my God, this is really brilliant. And you can just kind of see the thing. And also her little origin story of how she wrote her first book, where she was working at working with teenagers who'd been convicted of crimes, girls, and were living in a group home. And to amuse them, she'd write chapters of stories for them and read it to them.
Oh, wow.
And then it got to a point where like they'd be dragging her to the dinner table saying, have you finished the next chapter? You've got to read it to us. And it's like, wow, they working for that audience really made it feel relevant. She had to keep them entertained and make it feel like it applied to their lives, which were really messed up at the point she met them.
Wow. I wonder if she knows Danny Headland at Brink Literacy. That would be a cool connection to make if she does. Danny does the friction anthologies and a lot of comics work and a lot of literacy work, and prison activism in particular, though not exclusively. And Danny hires a lot of folks off of the Visible Women list.
Wow.
Too, and there's just a lot of cool comic stuff. So yeah, Brink Literacy is the company, but it seems like Danny and Tamara would have a good meeting of the minds there. Like that could be really cool. They might know each other already. The other thing that made me think of was A.S. King, who is another YA author. And I think sometimes YA stuff is dismissed as simplistic. And
agreed.
Boy, I mean, the YA thing is just it's a marketing tool. It doesn't mean anything. And, you know, a great book is a great book.
Agreed.
And A.S. King, Amy King is her name, but A.S. King is, and which I love because it looks like asking. My favorite of hers is actually called Crawl Through This. But the first one I read of hers is Gloria O'Brien's History of the Future. That is it's about a teenage girl who drinks a bat, and it's the most real teenage girl thing. Like I was like, oh, I would have done that. I totally would have. They have this. Her and her friend have this desiccated bat that they found in the eaves, and they keep it in a jar, and they kind of pass it back and forth, and its name is Max Black, and it like has this for them. And as they're getting older and kind of going to go away, they're trying to decide who's going to get to keep him, and they realize they can't make that decision, so they pour a beer in the jar, and they both drink the beer and like get sick because, oh my God, don't do that. You're going to die. But I would do some dumbass thing like that. Totally. When I was 15, oh my God, I made the worst decisions. It's like, will this make a good story? We're doing it. But then she basically gets powers from Max. She can, when she looks at people, she can see their history and their future.
Yeah.
And she's then trying to kind of piece together what's going to happen to her town from these snippets of things that she's seeing from people. And it's really riveting. I read it not quite in one sitting, but essentially only because I had to go take a plane ride. So I had to, put it down to get on the plane. But so that is incredible. And then Crawl Through It is a surrealist novel that is as close as I've ever come to reading something that feels like it reads the way I think.
Wow.
So
both A.S. King books.
A.S. King, yes.
Okay. I got to ask from a TV standpoint, either of you, For All Mankind on Apple Plus or Apple TV?
No.
Oh, Cal, you'd love it.
Yeah, I've heard that. I have a list of TV stuff right now. I'm so far behind. Hacks, White Lotus.
Yes to both. Slow Horses on Apple, also amazing. Great spy show, Gene. Gary Oldman and a bunch of young people, and it's like the screw-ups of MI6 all housed in this one building, and they have all the mundane shit to do.
I read about this. It's
so and Mick Jagger does the theme song, and it's this great solo Mick Jagger song. I mean, I'm trying to remember who I just talked to about it on Word Balloon, and it was Mark Laming, the great British artist. And he's like, Slow Horses. I'm like, yeah, man. And the second season is starting in December. So that's another great one. Kel, honestly, yeah, For All Mankind. And Gino, I don't know what kind of astronaut guy you are, but it's just the space program. What would have happened if the Russians beat us to the moon, and the alternate history that spirals out of that, and it's incredible. And women astronauts start happening in the 70s rather than the 80s, and it's an acceleration of technology and personal advancement because the Cold War never ends, and it's still going on strong. It's fantastic, amazing. So,
the last thing I watched was Sandman, I think, which I just kind of mainlined and loved. I think it was I was really interested in seeing it because so many people, I think, over the years have tried to do it, and then to have Neil do his own work, I was really interested, like, to see, because I've been playing with adapting my own work for television as well, that kind of thing where you're like, well, it should probably be different because it's a different medium, but then there's this other part of you that's like, I've already adjudicated all of these choices. So as far as the plot goes, I'm not inclined to do things terrifically differently. It's really interesting, and to see him do such a faithful, literal, almost literal is a weird word to use there, but adaptation of his work, and to have it be so effective was really interesting to me. I was really taken with that.
Any TV recommendations, Gino?
I mean, this is super obvious, but right now I am really into Andor, which is
it's great.
I would describe it as Star Wars does The Wire.
That is
an apt description. Yeah, it's forget about all the magic and the Jedi and all that stuff, and it's like, what are the rebels doing? And this is great. It's fantastic. I agree with you, man.
Yeah, Matt is super into that as well. Matt and Henry watch it, and Matt texted me and was like, hey, not for anything, but this is really good. It's like, it's like, I mean, there will be things inferred from this that will certainly piss someone off, but he was like, it's like Star Wars for grown-ups. So
no, I agree. And it started, some people are like, it's too slow. It's like, it's intense, and it only got better. And once you get into it, no, it's great. I'm a huge fan of it. I quite agree. Kelly, you mentioned please go ahead, Gino.
I'm going to try this back to some stuff Kelly Sue said about how Volume 3 is going to where Volume 3 is headed for.
Yeah.
As Andor goes along, you see the characters making harder and harder moral choices, and some of them were like, "Oh, that's you're supposed to be on the good side, and that's reprehensible." And just people making moral choices where it's like, "Oh, wow, look at the people who are suffering because of the thing you decided to do." Wow. So,
Neil wants to know any more May on the horizon, Gino?
Okay, so if you look at my Twitter handle right now, it's Gene Ha is working on a secret project, which I cannot publicly discuss at all. So, like, before we started, I mentioned, so after the secret project is done, I am committed to, I want to finish up Volume 3 of May. I have a cork board where I've laid out the whole plot of Volume 3, which is flexible because I know as I go along, I'll always come up with more good ideas on anything. But I don't have the rough layouts done yet. I don't have the dialogue done yet, stuff like that. But the skeleton of the plot is there. I know where I'm going with it, and I just have to finish up the secret project I can't discuss, and then I'm going to work on May, and I will do anything I need to do to make sure that comes out.
And Cal, what about Pretty Deadly or Bitch Planet? Any forward movement on two of my favorites?
I'm doing a Pretty Deadly short for the Image Anthology.
Great.
With Emma, and then at some point I'm sure we'll get into the next volume, and there is stuff afoot with Bitch Planet, but I can't say anything about it.
Understood. That's great.
Yeah.
Yay. Yeah. No, that's good. That's good, guys.
I guess Parisian White got announced as going to see. I need to. I meant to put this in the newsletter, but Matt actually did the newsletter, and I because I didn't have time this week. But so Parisian White is a book with Bill Sienkiewicz.
Yes,
you
of
may have
course.
No,
I'm so glad you mentioned that because I knew you were working on this thing with Bill. Please.
So we announced this like 6 years ago or something, and the book never came out. And there's a million reasons, but it was like, thanks, Michael. You have audio listeners. Michael Eidson just posted, Kelly Sue, I'm so glad Parisian White is still happening. Yay. So me too. But anyway, we had this offer come in from AMC on it, and it was like, well, we really are going to do this. We have a really good relationship with Image, and I love Image. I don't want to undermine that at all. But AMC talked to Image, and Mike Zagari and Eric Stevenson were able to. Eric was really great and supportive and wonderful. So, so the book is happening over at AMC, but there's a they were like, we want to do the press release and everything, and I was like, oh, can we because we already announced this once and it didn't come out, so could we just do a Beyonce and just drop it when it's done? That would be my preference, but apparently the big companies, they don't work like that.
They don't work like that. No.
So as long as we're talking about it, we'll go ahead and talk about it.
I'm so happy for you guys, and truly, I'm again, I love Bill as well. So that's great that you guys are doing this, and yeah, I'm thrilled. What can you tell us? 10-cent tour on Parisian White? What a little kernel of the story?
Yeah, it's Paris in the 20s, the same way that Blade Runner was LA in the 40s. Does that make sense? So it's not really Paris in the 20s, but it's got
futuristic.
It's got an aesthetic influence from Paris in the 20s, and cool. It's a murder mystery, and my first like white male protagonist.
Well, you had Aquaman, although he's
oh yeah, right, Aquaman. Okay. Yes. So
hey, and by the way, Elsa Chartier, speaking of Parisians, says hello. I talked to her.
I love her to death. Although I will say that I wrote Parisian White before I wrote Aquaman. So
I see.
It's still first.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
And our protagonist there is a bit of an anti-hero. So Aquaman Arthur would not dig on this guy, I don't think.
Okay.
He would not have time for his nonsense.
You're killing me. That's great. That's awesome. And so is it on the schedule, or as far as the comic?
I hope not.
Okay. But the TV show's at least in development, or what?
Oh no! It's the comic we're doing through AMC.
I beg your pardon. Okay. Wow. Interesting.
Yeah. So we're doing the comic through AMC. So that's why Image had to work it out with them.
Right. Okay. No, I just assumed that it was also perhaps a TV property in development, but
well, I mean, I think that's part of it. Like they can develop it if they want to.
Yeah. Like Mark Miller with Netflix and everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
I might be jumping ship on one of my streaming networks and jumping to AMC Plus because, God, they're doing so many great genre shows there that
Yeah. Yeah. Zagari got in touch with me with a list of like, here's the kind of stuff we're looking for, and I was like, oh, Parisian White sort of fits that, but it's an image, and I don't know. It was he made it happen, and he's been lovely to work with thus
Cool.
far, and Bill is amazing, just utterly incredible. I'm so lucky, you guys. I'm so lucky. So
You're working with the cream of the crop, Kel, and they are as well.
There's a reason we're coming to you.
Yeah, it's deserving, Kel. Don't worry. It's all right.
It's so amazing.
You've come a long way from your humble beginnings, translating manga and the various other small jobs that you had leading up to what you're doing now.
I just got picked this up today.
What do you got, buddy? Oh, wow.
Yeah, I haven't read it yet. David Lopez recommended it.
Okay.
So,
Gene, an art tip, and truly, guys, if you got to go, we can wrap up. It's up to you. I mean, this is as social as it is business for me. That it's a great chance to hang out with both of you. But
I should probably head out shortly because I got to. My children have already fed themselves. But.
I saw that. Yeah, obviously, Tallulah coming in with the chicken. I understand. But Michael wants to know, Gene, do you have any tips on using Copic markers for a young artist?
Honestly, at this point, you may have noticed that when I post a Copic sketch on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or wherever, I no longer tag it as Copic because I don't trust the company anymore. They discontinue colors or the whole wide marker thing, which is the main marker that makes my Copic sketches work. So I had to stock up on the empty wide markers and then fill them with the ink. So yeah, my main advice for young artists who are interested in starting on Copics is learn watercolor. It's even if the brand of watercolor you like discontinues, you can switch to another one. It'll be fine. I will give one extra tip, which I just learned this week, which is that if you go on the weird Chinese marketplace site, AliExpress, kind of Alibaba, I think it's called IR markers. Some factory it looks like there's a factory that used to produce the wide markers for Copic, are taking spare parts and a new body case and selling wide markers now. So if you that's
a huge tip.
Yeah, it's very weird. But I haven't had a chance to explore it or buy any samples of it. But I'm trying to find out if they sell the blanks. That's the most valuable thing they could do. The empties, so you can fill it with your own color, so you can be sure it matches with whatever you're doing. But those the wide markers are what allow me to do the Copic sketches the way I do. But of course, if you use watercolor, you can just use a wide brush to do that. The other thing is, and this is a weird tip I got, which if you youngins out there really want to explore using marker and marker inks to do sketches kind of in the Gene Ha style, back when I was at what was then the greatest car design school of the world, this was my art school, the Center for Creative Studies, College for Creative Studies. I was not in the car design program, but they had to do marker drawings of cars that were almost life size, like 50% size. So it'd be like a 6-foot long drawing of a car in marker, which obviously you can't do with a small marker. So what they did is they'd get a bulldog clip, marker ink or Dr. Martin's dyes, and a tampon, put it in the clip, and then soak it, and you have a wide marker instantly.
Wow. Oh, funny.
MacGyver, well done.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's outstanding. There you go. See?
But the main tip is not tampons, it's watercolors. Learn watercolors.
All right, there you go. That's what
use that as a pull quote from this. Like just out of context. The main tip is not a tampon, it's watercolors.
Yes.
That is
yes, to the puzzlement of most of the people reading said pull quote. Absolutely. Great place to end, everybody. This is outstanding. And once again, we will remind people that volume 2 of Wonder Woman Historia out, as is volume 1, and catch up because at the end of December we'll get volume 3 from Nicola, and you can count on a early 2023 conversation continuing the exploration of Historia with Kelly Sue and Nicola. But you, as always, guys, you I love talking to both of you and individually, and this is great collaboratively. And thank you for a wonderful discussion, and all the best to your significant others and the mishpuchas and everybody. So, Thank
I
you.
enjoyed it so much. And
Yeah.
thank you, Gene. It's nice to get a chance to see your face for a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever really gotten a chance to hang out in person, partially pandemic and stuff like that. But also I have advice for I'm going to make up an imaginary person out there I'm going to talk to. So
Okay.
young Beatrice, you're both now a woman and now you're a watercolorist.
There you go.
I have an appropriate.
It's perfect.
Go ahead, Kel.
I have a memory of you from a million years ago at like out front of the Hyatt at San Diego.
Oh,
And I don't really, it's not a anecdote.
yeah.
It just like I remember you being very kind and someone said, "That's Gene Ha." That's kind of all I like. We were all standing. A bunch of people were standing out front of the Hyatt talking. I think it was like so some people could smoke, you know. So
Sure.
and yeah, and that's it. That's kind of the whole story. But I remember you were very kind, and I remember somebody telling me that's Gene Ha. I was like, oh, okay, cool. I talked to Gene Ha.
Well, you know, we all know Gene's
Aw.
one of the nicest guys in comics, and I was even off the air before we started, Kel, at an early Orlando show. It was Gene, Matt Wagner, and Dave Johnson, and Gene's like, "Hey, have breakfast with us," and I'm like, "Okay, thanks." You know, snot-nosed guy that's, you know, the new to the group and everything. And no, that's the kind of guy. And Kel, you know, when I first met you, you know, and hanging out with you and Maddie and everything at the Hyatt. And then it's funny because I remember we saw each other at Rose City, but before that, it was San Diego, where literally all we did was ran into each other, and literally was like, "I miss you and I miss you," and that was it, because we were all on a mission. We couldn't talk, but it was like, all right, good enough. We've gotten
to know each other over the years doing these things. Like,
it means a lot, Kel. You know it does. Yes.
And because we never make them short. There
was and truly
long conversations.
I know, and you know, hey, I know you're juggling the career and the mom stuff and the.
No, that wasn't a complaint.
No, I realize that, and that's why. No, it's truly my appreciation that we do get to hang out like this. It really means a lot. You know that.
It's really cool.
Thanks, buddy. Likewise.
Yeah.
So, all right, all the best, everybody. And I have an appropriate. We mentioned watercolors. A great way for us to go out. So until the next Word Balloon Live, everybody stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy.